Change of plans here. I forgot I was going to show something else on Robinhood, and that brought up the Cathie Woods thing, or Cathie Wood. So I'm going to have to wait for everything money. This shouldn't be too long. So here we go. Vladimir Tenev. You can see he sold at the IPO 45 million shares. There you go. Boom. $1.25 billion. And today, what is it, $9? This is theft, folks. If you think capitalism in America doesn't have any problems, you don't understand what's going on in the stock market. How did this guy make his $1 billion? He stole from the poor and gave to the rich and pocketed money himself. Do you understand the criminality here? Well, Sean, in this case, he didn't call the top. He just got out on the IPO. I mean, when you have a CEO that exits on the IPO, that's a sign. That's like the worst sign you can find. I mean, think about that. I mean, he's not even. Not only does he know his company's a scam, he's not even optimistic. It's pretty rare that happens. Right? I mean, think about it, folks. If you guys, and of course, it's the simpletons out there. Simpletons just don't understand the stuff that I write and talk about because their heads are filled with propaganda. But you know, when you come across someone who's an expert on something, it's time to zip your mouth and take notes and learn from that person, not think that you know everything, right? But this is the world we live in today. Everyone's an expert on everything, okay? But my point is that when I talk about how bad capitalism has become, how corrupt, how it's we are worse off with capitalism now than without it. That's how bad it is. You look at this guy Vladimir, how he completely ripped off, he defrauded his customers through lies, he didn't even disclose payment for order flow. And the $300 million that he was fined for that, did it come from his paycheck? No. It came from the company's, well, I shouldn't say earnings. They're not earning any money. Think about that for a second. If you're making money, huge amounts of money off of fraud, and it comes from the company, I mean, this is such a scam. Not even considering the payment for order flow, and the whole premise behind the company is a fraud. It's a complete fraud. Robinhood never stole from the poor to give to the rich, according to the folktale. He stole from the rich to give to the poor. Robinhood, the trading app company, steals from the poor to give to the rich. Right? Right? So let's take another look here into major holders. So these are, the venture VC firms. Probably the first three of them are. Maybe this one here too. Oh, look. Top mutual fund holders. Cathie Wood. You see, folks, Cathie Wood bought this stock. Why? You all know why she bought Robinhood. Same reason why she pitches Bitcoin. That's her target crowd. The delusional kids who think that money is easy and everything is free and we can defeat the establishment. I made this audio 10 years ago. I said, look, all you people out there are fooled by all these fraudster con artists telling you can defeat the bankers and you can defeat the establishment. You can't. Nobody's more anti-establishment from a realistic, honest sense than me. But I'm realistic. If you're going to trust somebody, if you're going to think about it, you think alternative media is legit? Alternative media is 100% scam. At least the mainstream media is, it varies, but I would say, 50, 60, 70% truth, right? There's a lot of truth there. The problem is they don't report a lot of stuff. Alternative media is 100% fiction. It's designed to pitch you alternative views so you buy into it to buy products from the sponsors. The mainstream media is so large and complex that they don't have to, per se, they don't have to pitch you some financial thing and sell you a Wall Street firm advertisement. They can actually have an advertisement for Coca-Cola. Why? Because they have a big network, right? CNBC is part of NBC and MSNBC, so on and so forth. You see, they spread it around. But when you're looking at alternative media, it's so directly connected, you have to be a mental dildo to not see it, right? Alex Jones, great example. Oh, New World Order, they want to kill 80% of the population. Look at the food, and it's poisonous, chemicals, arsenic, right? First of all, that whole premise is stupid. People in control don't want anyone to die. You know why? Because they're the slaves. They're the consumer slaves. They're the ones buying all their shit. They're the ones borrowing all the money. They don't want the slaves to die. Of course not. But so Alex Jones wants to convince you of all this stuff. Why? Buy some seeds from Miracle Grow and buy prepper food from, right? Listen, folks, I said this in an audio 10 years ago. You know what? I'll trust Kraft and General Mills and Conagra. I'll trust their food over the food from sponsors, from wacko alternative media guys, because those guys are operating from their basement. At least with the big guys, if there's a problem, there's accountability, right? These guys that are pitching their garbage, they'll be long gone by the time you. In fact, you look at Alex Jones's Tangy Tangerine. I exposed this many years ago. It actually contains all these toxic heavy metals that he warns against: arsenic, lead, mercury. You can do a search for it right now. I'm sure at least one of my pictures will pop up where I posted it. But so what I'm saying is that this whole narrative, it's been growing for a very long time. It's part of the libertarian thing. Be your own bank. Get away from the bankers. All these people are frauds, and they're leveraging this whole, the bankers are bad. Do this. They're leveraging that to scam people. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because this fits into the trading apps, and it fits into the whole meme and Reddit narrative, which is all bogus. And it fits into why Cathie Wood is the number one shareholder in terms of mutual funds of Robinhood, and why she pitches cryptocurrencies. Because her whole situation is pitching to that crowd. Typically younger crowd, delusional crowd, They don't know what's going on, and they think that they can get everything for free. Things are easy. They don't need to have any type of regulation. You understand? Cathie Wood is a complete con artist and an idiot. She's a con artist and an idiot. I watched one of her videos the other day. I was going to actually do a video on her, but it was so long. It was like 50 minutes, and I would be stopping every 5 seconds. She's an idiot. She doesn't know what the hell's going on, even now. She's still talking about deflation. Folks, let me just go ahead and tell you, and some of you here know my background, and you know that, I would make mincemeat of Cathie Wood and easily do it in a polite manner. She's an incompetent idiot. Cathie Wood, her whole premise is technology is deflationary. Technology actually, you can say theoretically it's deflationary, but in reality it does not produce deflation. It doesn't even produce deflation. Okay? It doesn't. But that's why she's thinking deflation is coming. There's going to be so much technology. No. The only reason why there could be a problem with that in the future is because of the dynamics in the labor force and the demographics. But even then, that's not necessarily deflationary. Her whole premise is completely wrong. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She was actually saying that we're in deflation now because of retail sales. And then she flip-flops again. Anyway, this lady is a complete idiot, and she's a con artist. She's not. See, you can be a con artist and not be an idiot, and you can be an idiot and not be a con artist, right? I think that she's both. I believe that she's both. Of course, listen, Mook, listen, the vast majority of people, the vast majority of investors should just buy index funds. Okay? In fact, I could argue, and by the way, let me just mention, there's no guarantee that the stock market's always going to go up. Okay? There's no guarantee that you're not going to face a very long and treacherous period if you buy an S&P 500 index fund. There's no guarantee. All you have to do is look to the case of Japan. Obviously, Japan is a much different situation, but they're an advanced country that everybody thought was on top of the world, 40 years ago. And then you see the big stock market collapse, and they're still down from the record high in the Nikkei 30-some years ago. They still haven't gotten there. And they've had, essentially, this period has been mostly deflationary. And now they're facing a demographics problem as well. So, there's no guarantee. But I would just say it's worth the chance. Because I'm telling you, folks, think about all these people out there. I could even argue that somebody like me or, who knows a lot about the market, that, I may just go to an index fund at some point. You know why? I don't want to waste more of our life. I'm wasting my life, right? Now, for me, I've been in the industry. So, I'm there. But some people, think about the amount of time you're wasting, right? And for me, I know what's going on, but I don't have a crystal ball, obviously. But think about people who haven't been in this business professionally like me. And most of them will never even know how clueless they are. They think that they know and they're learning because they didn't know anything. And they don't realize they're just learning the most basic shit that doesn't even help them compete against the smart money. Think about how much of their lives they're wasting. Right? And why are they doing that? They're doing it all because they think they're going to get rich. They're wasting their life and they're not getting anywhere. This is what happens to the majority of people. If you're on YouTube, I'm telling you right now, if you're on YouTube looking for investment, financial information, insight, ideas, education, 100% every single person in that category should buy an index fund, and that's it. Okay, that's it. That's it. If you don't have some type of competitive advantage, you need to be in an index fund. That's it. That's it. And the bonus is you can reclaim your life. Think about all the time. Some of you think about all the time that you spent consuming what is actually at best low yield content. That's at best, but most of it's just complete garbage. You can't get that time back in your life. It's over. It's done. Think about what you could be doing, right? And of course, we know you're going to buy an index fund. You don't buy international. Okay? You don't buy international. International is garbage. In fact, I've got a video I've already made. I'll be releasing. Jack Bogle said international investing is useless. He says it's useless. And he raises many of the same points that I raised. I just found this out. I just read the other day. Many of the same points. He says, look, you have higher risk of inflation problems, interest rates, currency problems, right? That's right. These countries are less stable. And take a look right now, by the way. Take a look what's going on with the dollar. The dollar's destroying all these other currencies. How do you think that's going to perform? How's that going to do for these international funds? If you want international exposure, you've already got it with the S&P. Okay? Over the years, between 45 to 48% or so of the revenues of the S&P 500 are from international operations. You've already got international exposure. Why would you want to invest in companies like, let's say in the Philippines, okay, you're going to invest in Jollibee. I'll just take the S&P and I'll benefit from McDonald's earnings in the Philippines. Right? You see what I'm saying? And as I'm going to put in the video, it's how to detect fake bogleheads. How to detect fake bogleheads. A fake boglehead is somebody who is not buying an I mean, you can buy an S&P index ETF, but you don't trade it. Don't trade it. Okay? Because the reality is that, I talk about in the video, the reality is that one of the reasons why people have piled into the ETFs is because the index mutual funds are less accessible. You have to have a vendor relationship, if you're Vanguard or any other mutual fund company, with the brokerage firm. Well, they don't have vendor relationships with all the brokerage firms. And the ETFs they're listed like stocks, so anybody can buy them at any brokerage firm. So if you are a true boglehead, you're buying the S&P 500 index. Okay? You're not trading it. You're holding it for life, like Mr. Bogle advised. And you're not investing in international stocks, and you're not doing any type of stock analysis. None of that. It's what I said long ago, right? I said, look, these people that talk about index investing, if they're real index investors, well, what are you doing? You make one video, buy the S&P 500, that's it. Game over. But they're using this, they're calling themselves index investors and bogleheads as a bait and switch to attract people that are index investors, and then they flip the script. Oh, well, I'm going to do a DCF analysis for you. You understand? The problem is, of course, a lot of these bogleheads don't even realize that they're fake bogleheads. They don't know this. I mean, if you're gonna be so pathetic, and I think it's pathetic, I want to be part of a group. I'm going to call myself a boglehead and a digital nomad. I want to be a group. I want to be in that group. If you're going to call yourself some type of a group member, don't you think that you need to really investigate the basis behind that group? Don't you think you need to understand what Jack Bogle stood for? Otherwise, you're probably going to be seen as a complete fucking idiot. Is that unfair? Is that unfair of me to come to that conclusion? Brandon, you, I'm just going to assume everything that comes from Brandon now is just his sarcasm, because he does it all the time. He always lists these things, and I have to wait a second, dude. So I know Brandon's just completely sarcastic. I actually talked about the danger of ETFs many years ago, back around the financial crisis era, because it's funny because during that period, people were beginning to realize how dangerous ETFs were. It's funny because you haven't really heard that, at least I haven't come across it in many years. It seems to me that people 10 years ago were much more aware of how dangerous ETFs can be, especially the leveraged ETFs, the inverse ETFs, and I don't kind of see the same information out there. And it's probably because since that time, what's taken over is all these trading apps and all this trading, and so it's not about, they don't want you to know anything. It's, oh, look, you got an info, you see the market's going down, you can do it, buy an inverse ETF, right? No sector ETFs, no nothing. All it is the S&P 500. Now, I'm speaking for Americans, or I can't speak for people in other countries, but I think it's safe to say, I mean, look, if you're going to buy a foreign index, you want to buy America, right? You want to buy the S&P or even the Dow. Okay? If you're in another country, you certainly want to probably, I'm not going to say, because it depends upon the country and the situation, but generally speaking, let's say if you're in an advanced country, you want to buy, certainly, if you're from England, you want to buy the FTSE. You want to buy, an index that covers that, their market, right? And if you want to go foreign, come on, you got to have the S&P. So, and by the way, Moke, there's something to be said about that. Something to be said. I'm not going to say clear cut, but so Moke is saying I'm European, don't buy European stocks. There's something to be said about countries, societies where the investments aren't necessarily as good compared to in America. And why I say that is because if you look at Japan, for instance, Japanese companies, of course, it's changing by the day. They're catching up, but generally speaking, Japanese companies, if Sony misses earnings, they don't start laying people off. Okay? In America, they do, right? Europe, similar situation. And in Europe, when a foreign company closes a facility or lays people off, Moke, you know what happens. I don't need to say what happens. Go ahead and tell everybody what happens. What happens, Moke? What happens when General Motors decides to lay people off in France, let's say? What happens? Well, Mr. de Blasio, I don't talk about investment analysis or anything here, but I'll just go ahead and say, Germany is obviously in deep trouble right now. But on the flip side of that, of course, Germany is the leading, they basically are the leading edge of the European economy, right? They're the country that leads Europe, but they're not. Their situation right now is not, and the foreseeable future is not looking good for obvious reasons. So what happens is, yes, they have riots, but the first thing they do typically, or let's say from my perspective, my understanding, when I think about a layoff in Europe, especially from a foreign company, because you see that the local companies, they know how to handle it. They know what's going to happen. The foreign companies don't give a shit. It's all about earning, especially I'm talking America. It's all about money, 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 money. They lay people off. So you know what happens? All of the workers go inside the factory and lock the fucking doors and don't come out. Am I right, Moke? Correct? Correct. So in other words, what do? They don't, in America, what happens? GM or whoever lays people off, they go out and picket, right? They hold up their signs. And they walk around, treat us fair. We want work, And all the other workers go about their business, go in there and they work. Right? It's not my problem. You all are laid off. I'm going to work. In Europe, they all look out for each other. There's unity. Now, of course, the unity in Europe is continuing to decline. This is part of what the guys running the show want, which is why they've opened the borders and done all these things, including the EU. It's ultimately about breaking down unity. Okay? So this is what I mean about there's something to be said positive about countries, societies where, maybe it's not a good investment per se, but maybe that says something about the society. It can be a good thing. You see? So, well, listen, Mr. Rodriguez, as you probably know, or I'll refresh your memory. This will make sense if you don't. Or I'll make it a conscious awareness. As as you're probably aware, this is the issue. It's the young people. The young people are the ones that push for change. This is why you look at these millennials, you look at these kids, and they're delusional. They have no sense of anything. All they know is what they have grown up with, which is it's common sense. I mean, it's normal. You can't. But what they should take a step back and realize is that, you know what? Wait a second. We don't know any different. But we have older people who are saying things weren't this way before. Maybe we should take a step back and respect the wisdom of older people. They have perspective, and ask them what they have to say. You see? But typically that's not done. It's just ignorance. And this is why, of course, you've got a lot of focus in the media to appease the youth. And this is why do you think that they're making marijuana legal in America? They're doing it to appease these younger generations who are gradually losing more and more opportunities because of outsourcing. You see? Eventually, America is going to be, you will have, I believe, required minimum, kind of a minimum wage or whatever. You will have people who are essentially, you have welfare now, but that's a different system. I think you're going to have even more people in a welfare system that are getting high and playing video games in their mom's basement. That's what the establishment would rather have than young people who are informed and see what's going on and riot. They don't want that. They don't want young people building bombs in their mom's basement. They want young people smoking pot and playing video games in their mom's basement. You see? That's what's going on. So, there's some young people that are wise, that can kind of see things, and once they jump out of that little hoop, they kind of, it's a difficult thing. It takes a certain personality to be, to be in your teens or in your 20s even, uh, to see these things. I think I was that. I mean, it's impossible to know, but I think I was that person myself. Knowing, thinking back, I could see a lot of bullshit going on, and I didn't fall for it. But these days, I mean, who knows? I mean, gosh, look at how everything is so controlled with the internet. It's just really bizarre. It's so. Mr. Rodriguez, you can check in the links on my about, and you can see the track records posted there, and you can see the site as well. I spend a lot of time talking about these issues, even though it has nothing to do with what I primarily do, because it's important. These things are and they're becoming even more important. It's critical to understand. See, if you understand what's happened economically and financially to America, and if you understand Wall Street, you understand all these things that I've written about and I've exposed, then you'll understand what's going on and why they're doing it. And then, like, you can't talk to anybody because they've been completely brainwashed with nonsense and mythology, you see. But they're all experts. Ask the people that think that they're experts, who haven't been doing this for decades as professionals. Ask them where they're getting their information. They're getting their information from the media. The media is the problem. The media is the major problem in this country. And remember, I'm a financial guy. There's nobody more anti-Wall Street and anti-banker than me. Anybody that's read my stuff will know that. But the media ultimately is the problem. Because the media determines your perception of reality, right? Think about that. Think about that for a second. So no matter what industry we're talking about, if you're talking about the financial industry, Wall Street, think about the financial crisis. I wrote about in advance what was going on, the fraud. Okay? Think about that. Some of you know that. But it was never seen as fraud. It was greed. The media was able to brainwash the public with their narrative. They were able to make sure nobody from Wall Street not only went to jail, but didn't even get investigated. So the media is the most powerful enemy of the people because they determine the narratives. The media, remember, some of you, weapons of mass destruction. Saddam Hussein's got weapons of mass destruction. All you would hear, WMDs, 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 to justify going into Iraq and killing over 1 million innocent people, right? And once they found out that he didn't have WMDs, and it came out, did America leave Iraq? No. Did the media call for America to leave Iraq? No. You understand? The media is the most dangerous force of humanity. No doubt. The media can determine everything. It determines your perception of reality until you understand how they work, what they're doing, what their motives are, who they work with, and then you understand kind of some facts about what's really going on. So, anyway, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to get now to we're going to get to. I should talk about Cathie Wood more, but next I'm going to talk about everything money. Some people raise some issues about everything money. We're going to talk a little bit about them, and I'm going to be doing more on them as needed. You know, it's kind of like, well, I'll get into it here in a second. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to start another stream.